part's kind of loud though. Not gonna lie. Yeah. Hold on, are we live? What's up? Oh, we've been live for like 10 seconds. Okay. Hey, what's up, guys? We got another video, another stream today. We got a lineup today. We caught a premiere of a Ray William Johnson video. Remember them? The internet.
Remember when that cheating couple got caught on the kiss cam at the Coldplay
we got a lot
concert?
of cool stuff today.
What really happened that night? Did those two
really
stay
happened?
together? Now this story starts with this woman, Kristen. And Kristen is about 53 years old, living on the East Coast. And one day in 2024, something pretty cool happens to her.
Here we go.
She goes on a job interview for this billion-dollar data company called Astronomer. And she ends up meeting the company's CEO, this guy, Andy. And Andy and the company eventually hire Kristen to work as head of HR, which now makes Andy her boss. And so
HR
she and
is
Andy
crazy
are
too,
working
considering what they were
together and
doing. But it
talking
really
every
be the
day
people in HR
like
though.
normal coworkers.
They know.
And apparently,
They'd be the most
Kristen
pressed,
thinks
the most
Andy
repressed,
is
I should say.
fine. Here's the thing, though. She's actually married. However, it's not really that simple. Her marriage isn't going all that well. In fact, she and her husband are officially separated. So at work, Kristen chats with Andy and talks to him about her separation. And Andy tells her that his marriage isn't going very well either. And they actually kind of bond over this. And over time, they grow closer and closer. And even though Kristen knows they can't date because, you know, he's her boss and she's the head of HR, and that would be an HR nightmare for the company, Kristen apparently can't help but have romantic thoughts about Andy. And of course she can't. I mean, look at this handsome motherfucker right here. Anyway, then, at some point in 2025, Kristen's friends give her tickets to a Coldplay concert. And when she gets an extra ticket, she knows exactly who she wants to invite as her plus one. Her boss, Andy. So she goes and she asks him. And surprisingly, he says yes. And Kristen is probably all excited to go out with her secret crush for the first time. But then, on the way to the concert, Kristen gets a text from her daughter. And that text is telling her that Kristen's husband, the one she separated from, is going to be at the same Coldplay concert. And Kristen's probably thinking, you know, no big deal. It's a little awkward, but, you know, there's a lot of people there.
I wonder if he was the one that got the cameras pointed at him.
And so Andy and Kristen arrive at the concert. And, you know, it's Coldplay, so the stadium is packed. So they're there, and they're enjoying the band.
Hold on, I'll say
some
this in a
drinks,
second.
and they're getting a little tipsy, and they're dancing around. And since they're in a private VIP section, Kristen feels like no one will see them.
Gotcha.
There,
that makes sense.
things
Okay.
start to get
I was gonna say, like, why would the cameras even care to look at bro or whatever he was doing? Like, who's really that concerned with like looking at the camera, pointing the camera at the CEO of what company was it? It's like a random data company, right? He's not like a celebrity CEO. He's just chilling. Like, nobody even knew him before this, as far as I know. I don't know if he's like bigger than that. Maybe I'm just the one out of touch. But I was gonna say, who really cares? But he was in the VIP section, so they were probably just pointing it over there anyways to see who they could catch. Maybe. Were they even in it when they got caught?
Her and Andy, and they end up kissing. Which, as the head of HR, kissing your boss is a big no-no. But fuck it. I mean, who's gonna know? Am I right?
As the head of HR,
So
you might as well
it's
just be
at
putting that
moment
target on your back.
that Andy is standing behind her, and she takes his hands and she wraps them around her. And Kristen is so focused on Andy that she doesn't hear Coldplay's
It's almost so, it's so comically like frowned upon that it's one of the most likely things to happen. Because it's like, you repress it enough, it's gonna just jump out. You know what I'm saying? In a crazy way.
Singer Chris Martin on stage announced that they're going to put some fans in the crowd up on the Jumbotron as part of the show so that he can like sing to them or whatever.
So if you look at the screens, we're going to come looking and see who's out there to sing along to.
At this point, he should have been hiding.
Is when kaboom, Kristen looks up and she sees herself on a giant screen in front of 50,000 people.
Oh, look at these two. All right, come on, you're okay? Oh, what?
Oh, they didn't know.
They're having an affair or they're just very shy.
LMAO. He put him on blast.
They were doing
Yo, W Coldplay. Nah,
Either
W
they're having an
Coldplay.
affair or they're just very shy.
And their reaction lets
He
the
called him out
entire
crazy.
stadium know
Hold
that
on,
they were doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing.
Yeah, just
So
after
Kristen's good
the sun's getting in
time
my face.
suddenly turns into panic. I mean, she knows her estranged husband is in the crowd, and he must have seen her. And, you know, that's pretty awkward. While Andy, he's having problems too. I mean, he's also married. I mean, what if someone saw him and tells
has
his
that.
wife? And then it dawns on the both of them. What if someone from work is here at the concert and just saw us? I mean, Andy and Kristen could get reported and lose their jobs. So immediately, they leave the concert. And they drive back to Kristen's place. And leave the concert. And they drive back to Kristen's place. And there, they get on her computer and they start writing a joint email to the board of directors explaining what happened.
They started to see what had happened was. Now they're cooked.
To save their jobs. And they work on this email for a while. Then, around 4 a.m., Kristen gets a text from her husband, the one she separated from. And he sends her a screenshot of the Jumbotron footage that someone had
Crazy
uploaded
work.
to TikTok. And he says, I think you should know about this. So now
Crazy
she
work.
realizes that this footage of her is on the internet. So not only are the board of directors going to find out about this, but the whole world is about to find out. And
Yeah, y'all better
overnight,
start
this footage of them
preparing
starts
that
getting
golden
traction,
parachute,
and
'cause you're
it
about to be
blows
out
the
of there, buddy.
up, getting over 100 million views across many platforms in just a few days. I mean, this story is everywhere online. Traditional news outlets are talking about it. Late-night talk show hosts are making jokes about it. People go and they start posting comments about it on Kristen and Andy's LinkedIn pages. People start
LMAO.
reenacting it on the jumbo screen at other sporting events and concerts. And poor Kristen, she can't believe this is getting this much attention.
They're getting
like every
parodied.
time she picks up her phone or turns on the TV, there the footage is. Meanwhile, Astronomer, the billion-dollar data company that Andy and Kristen work for, the execs are watching all this go down. And they're wondering how to publicly respond as a company. Because, you know, this is making them
Go
look
ahead and
bad
get the golden
too.
parachute
Like,
out.
should they fire Andy and Kristen? Should they say something to the public? Well,
Yeah,
at
go
the
ahead
end
and
of
get
it
that
all,
golden
they
parachute out,
decide
man.
that they want to cash in on all the attention that this is bringing them. So instead of playing it down, they add fuel to the fire. They go and they hire Gwyneth Paltrow, the famous actress, the actual ex-wife of Coldplay's lead singer, to do an ad for their company.
Hi, I'm
LMAO.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
And the ad basically makes fun of the whole Coldplay kiss cam situation. And so Kristen sees this ad and she gets
That's
all
hilarious.
pissed off at Gwyneth Paltrow for doing it, but, you know, whatever. There's not much she can do. And so she's hoping that now everyone has had their laugh and, you know, maybe the public can just move on
Hey,
and forget about all
If
this.
you were ashamed of that, you shouldn't have been doing that.
Until, for some reason,
You gotta
this is
sit in
one
that
of
now.
those memes that people online just can't seem to let go.
You gotta sit
And
in
from
that.
there, random ass people decide to make Kristen and Andy's life a living hell. People start
man.
creating fake Facebook profiles using Kristen's husband's name and Andy's wife's name. People
What?
start messaging their spouses, which forces the spouses to have to delete all their social media accounts.
Okay, that's
People
too
start
much.
spreading rumors and conspiracies about them,
Nah,
like that
going-
Andy
like,
is allegedly
talking to their
wanting to
family and
sue
stuff is too
Chris
much.
Martin for invasion of privacy and emotional distress. People even start doxing Kristen, and some of them start driving by her house
See, now
at
they're
all
going too
hours
deep.
of the day. Sometimes
It was
people
funny,
call-
haha, when people are just joking like, haha, y'all are grimy, haha, get caught. But when you start going and talking to the people's families, that just gets crazy. Like, leave their families out of this. They wanted no part of this. Not even on them. And why are you doxing them? They literally have kids.
just to harass her and call her a homewrecker and tell her that she needs to watch her back because they know where she lives. Like, why are
Don't
they
involve
threatening
their
her?
family in this,
In
bro.
fact,
This is
Kristen
on them.
gets 500 or 600 calls a day from TV producers and news channels and whoever asking her questions about the state of her marriage. while paparazzi park outside her house and wait for her to come outside so that they can get a picture
snap.
trying to see if she's wearing a wedding ring or not.
PB&J.
And so poor
And some
Kristen,
cinnamon oatmeal.
she waits weeks before she feels safe enough to even go outside again. And pretty soon after all this, Kristen officially, finally gets a divorce. But Andy, however, actually doesn't.
He doesn't?
He
Wait, he's still
appears
married?
to have reconciled with his wife, and they
Whoa.
end up staying together. But ultimately, Andy ends up resigning from his job as CEO of Astronomer, and Kristen, she knows that she can no longer be the head of HR, so she resigns as well.
That's a
And
huge
after all
HR
that,
violation.
the two
That's
of them
HR
agree-
destruction. That's not even a violation anymore.
Agree that it would probably be best
HR
if they never
decimation.
spoke again. And as far as I've read,
Yeah, over a
they
Coldplay
actually
concert?
haven't spoken to one another since all this happened.
All that over a Coldplay concert is so crazy to me. Y'all's whole like life states just flipped on their head. They're probably really unaffected if we're being honest. They're probably mostly unaffected because their income is probably like taken care of, and like they probably have some sort of investments that they have, so they're probably fine. But I would just be worried about, you know, their kids that need to be taken care of and stuff like that. But they're probably fine. That's such a crazy thing to be doing, though. That's so crazy. W video, bro. All right, we're gonna stay on the W video bros this time. I'm not gonna miss too many. Okay, but the watch later, we got some heat on here. I don't want to spoil it. Hold up. Which one are we starting with? Oh, we're starting with this one. Okay. Wait. I feel like we should start with a different one. I kind of want to switch some. Yeah, I want to switch some. I know I'm spoiling. I want to switch them though. I'm gonna go take this stuff downstairs, and then we're gonna watch these. The Avatar Legends, the fighting game tutorial that just released like 2 days ago. I haven't done a video or a stream in a little minute, so this one's a little bit late, but yeah. Okay, I'll be right back. Boop. Yeah, all right, we're back. Let's get it. Avatar Legends, the fighting game, official chi gauge tutorial trailer. What?
Merely powers your movement and defensive abilities. The chi gauge will regenerate over time while not being used.
Okay.
Flow stance cost chi to activate and additional chi to sustain. Flow stance automatically guards attacks. However, flow stance leaves you vulnerable to critical throws.
Slow sense. Yeah.
Each character has unique flow techniques that offer a variety of movement options.
Okay.
Many flow techniques can avoid high
Whoa.
or low attacks.
That was dope.
Many
That's
flow
actually really
techniques
cool.
will have follow-up options.
And you can come out of it.
Three types of actions can be canceled into flow techniques. 1. Unique techniques, also known as command normals, can cancel into flow techniques. Number 2. Flow techniques cancel into different other flow techniques.
Oh.
Number 3. Guarding, also known as guard cancel, can go into certain flow techniques. Pressing flow and the C button while blocking activates a guard reversal.
Oh, that's lit. That's
Once
lit.
your chi gauge empties,
So
you
can
become
punish people when they hit
unbalanced.
you.
An unbalanced state automatically recovers. After a set amount of time, you will become recentered. During unbalance, you cannot perform any actions using the flow button.
So you gotta ground
While
yourself.
unbalanced,
when you
all
balance.
hits become counter hits with all
Why does
knockdown.
Aang have significantly more like color than Zuko? I feel like right now. Why is that?
Becoming untechable hard knockdowns. Additionally, all throws become critical throws.
Whoa. Whoa. That sounds broken.
Due to all hits becoming counter hits, unbalanced state makes you susceptible to even more freeform combos from your opponent. Lastly, getting hit by a true chakra art while unbalanced will cause you to instantly lose.
Whoa. If you're unbalanced and you get hit with an ultimate, you just lose. That's what it is, right? I'm guessing a true chakra art. That's just like. That's a cool little mechanic. I like that. I like that. I like that. Because you can punish people super hard if you get them in an unbalanced state. But, like, I wonder if, like, Toph is going to be super good at, like, getting people in the unbalanced state or, like, other earthbenders. Because she, you know how, like, even in her intro, she was, like, her focus was, like, getting people off balance with, like, the little earthbending techniques that she was using in the beginning where she would just, like, slide their feet a little bit and then let's, like, they'd be like, oh, and then boom, knock them out. That's what it's giving right now. I like that. That's kind of a cool mechanic. I know a lot of people are going to complain about that, but I think it's cool and different to have in a fighting game to where it's like, no, not everything is a one-hit kill, but if you know when to do it and you can punish correctly, anybody can just end the fight at any time. And I think that's a really cool mechanic. I think it's really cool. And it forces you to like really lock in, because if you get unbalanced and somebody has their whatever gauge they need to fill full, you already know what time it is. They're on demon time.
Thanks for watching.
That's so
Be sure
cool.
to keep
I
your
like
chi
that.
gauges up by following us on our socials.
I like
Until
that.
next
I like
time.
that. Oh, can I get the W video, bro, out? Before it skips. Is it gonna skip? Okay, we won't worry about that one. Wait, what? Because that's IGN. That's okay. That's okay. We'll get it on Snarky J's though. Hold on. There was one more before this actually though. No? I'll skip it. It's okay for right now. I think that one's fine to have. Oh, I didn't properly put both of them ahead of it. We got the Caitlyn 2x KO reveal. We'll watch that again. We'll watch that real quick, and then we'll come back to this one. Hashtag Caitlyn, hashtag gaming. We'll do one
Sheriff
W
Kiernan,
video, bro.
sighting target.
Okay, let's not miss the video though. Go back, go back. I do it? Free video, bro. There we go. That's for the last one. Did it comment? Yo, this lag is going crazy. Hold on, let me close this. Here we go. It's probably still gonna be going crazy, but oh, it's running a scan. Okay. All right, let's do this. Official Caitlyn gameplay reveal trailer. 2x KO. Let's get it.
Sheriff Kiernan,
I'm
sighting target.
Okay, we got it. Okay, this is. Okay.
Consider this your warning. Shot.
17. Let's drop it down to 480.
Take time.
Okay. Okay. This already looks really corny. Not corny in the fact of like it's not cool, but her gameplay style. I feel like it's giving like if you play Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, it's giving like square characters like Deidara, Tamari. It's giving that like super cheesy, super corny ranged fighting. Okay, got the 5 tag team. That's kind of lit.
One clear shot.
Yeah, it's giving hella corny. It's giving square character from Naruto.
Cheers. Case closed.
Some content sold separately. What are these DLC characters? Or like skins, I'm assuming.
Headshot.
Maybe it's like an arcane skin.
Keep thinking you're clever.
Okay, yeah. Jinx is also giving square characters.
Nice
But
try.
she is like throwing hands closer on each other.
Shall we? Like I said, I don't miss.
I love the
You can't
animations
avoid
and
my
stuff,
sights.
their little unique attack animations. It's so cool. I like this. Play for free global launch. Oh, it's coming. Wait. It's launching on the 20th.
Cultural relevance.
It's launching on the 20th for console too. Hey, it might be time to pick it up. Almost. Might be time to pick it up. That's gonna be lit. It's like 5 days from now, actually. Yeah, that's like 5 days from now. That's gonna be lit. I'm excited. It's gonna be cool. But yeah, let's check out this. We got a video. Why fandoms never die, and others vanquish overnight by the young homie Snarky J. Let's go ahead and get into it. We'll go ahead and do a W video, bro, first, just in case it skips. W video, bro. Hold on. There we go. Alright, let's do it.
Relevance is kind of one of those hot topics these days when it comes to content, and I'm here to get to the bottom of why people say Avatar isn't.
Okay.
Hey y'all, Snarky J Cosplay here.
What's
I'm
up?
kidding. This video actually has nothing to do with Avatar. I just happen to be inspired by conversations about it. So, when we've been talking
Turn it up some.
about different media, let's say Star Wars, Marvel, Jurassic Park, Jaws, all these different things, people always talk about cultural relevance, right? And in my opinion, that's always kind of a moving goalpost. Like, I don't know what makes something culturally relevant. So I thought, what better way to explore and figure it out than for us to get to the bottom of this thing together, right? Because if
Okay.
I have to listen to people dogging my f***ing Avatar cosplay because the movies aren't culturally relevant, I need to figure out
Hey,
what
I like
makes
Avatar
something
too.
culturally
I like
relevant.
Avatar a
So we're
lot.
getting to the bottom.
I've been talking
So
about
let's
that.
jump right into this. The way they taught us in school, class is now in session. What does culturally relevant mean? What is cultural relevance as a definition? I think there are essentially 5 boxes that a fandom
Okay, let's
needs to
see.
tick off in order to be considered culturally relevant. Number
see.
1, the fandom must exist outside of the IP's release window. So if something is only
That's valid, that's
relevant
valid.
for about as long as it's in theaters or right up until that Blu-ray or streaming release window, it's not culturally relevant. And I think I
kinda
might have
valid.
just f***ed over Avatar right at the beginning of
That's
the
what I'm
video.
saying, yeah. Because
2,
Avatar
it is-
definitely isn't that. Avatar is like, hey, when the movies are coming out, when they're being talked about, everyone who's an Avatar fan is an Avatar fan. But then after that, it's dead in the water. it's not getting talked about, quite literally.
Referenced without explanation. It's something that you can just bring up, and most people, pop culture wise, will understand what it is that you're talking about
But I think
without
that's
you
okay. I
having
think
to
it's cool to
explain.
have
Well,
some
in
that aren't.
1985, when they released, no explanation. It's just
Not
kind
everything
of
needs to
known.
have an
Number
always
3,
active
a
fan.
fandom is culturally relevant if it produces memes organically and also produces quotes. Something like the line from Harry Potter, "I solemnly swear I'm up to no good." That's a really good way to know that there's a quote that is tied universally to an
Hello
IP
there.
that makes it culturally relevant. Number 4, a fandom is culturally relevant if it is rewatched,
So
reread,
uncivilized.
or rediscovered.
Oh, hold
A
on.
fandom is
What is it?
culturally relevant if it is rewatched, reread, or rediscovered. I think a great
Yeah.
example of this would be
I can
Lord
agree
of
with
the
that.
Rings, which I can
That's
already
always
hear the
been,
comment
like-
section. Please be nice to me. We'll talk a little bit more about them later. And number 5, a fandom and an IP is culturally relevant if it influences new creators. If it's constantly
fair
bringing
enough.
people into it, it is
Fair enough.
culturally relevant. It's got that kind of draw. And the important part is that
can
relevance
agree with,
is actually
the majority of those
repeatedly
pillars.
earned over time. It's not just owned forever. So, class, now that we've determined what cultural
Yeah, I can agree
relevance
with that for
is,
now. Let's
we
see.
need to now understand what actually maintains and sustains that relevance. And I
Okay.
think we could basically divide that into pillars.
But first, here's a word from this video's sponsor.
We've got a great giveaway thanks to Whatnot, and I'm going to tell you
Whatnot.
exactly what you need to
Alright,
do
we're gonna
to
skip
get in on
this.
the action. Whatnot
Get
is
your
the
bread, young
number
queen.
one. This one's for me though. I need this stitch. Oh my god. Oh, I won it! Oh my god.
Is still it? Okay.
Out sacrificing quality. If you want in on the act in my description, I want to see what $100 could get you. Wait, just sign username. We'll be at up
Dang, you're
because realistic.
yapping.
It's important to
Okay.
know or QR code. Pillar number 1
Get your
is
bread, though.
memes and quotability.
Love
But
that.
it's important to note that this pillar is not held up by irony and jokes alone, because realistically, I keep hearing kids talk about 6'7" and skibbity toilet. I don't understand the context for any of those
6'7".
things. Therefore, despite their memeability, I would not say that those are culturally relevant. But think about different properties. Mean Girls, for instance, is incredibly
Girls?
quotable, and even though it
Apparently
now
it is
came out in the
culturally
early
relevant, even though
2000s,
it's like-
we're still talking about it later in 2026.
that's
Something like
crazy
The
amount of
Office, for
relevance.
instance. The Office
Yeah,
has
and The
been
Office
off
too,
the
yeah.
air for more than 10 years at this point, and yet people are still starting to watch it every day, and people are still
I
referencing
remember I made a
it
friend
because
of
there's
mine
so many great
who really
memes
loves
that
The Office. When I was doing like music production and stuff like that, I made him like a unique, like special like percussive like bell based, because that's like my musical background is like percussion and all that. I did like a super cool like percussive bell based rendition of the Office theme for his birthday one year.
came out of it,
That's
and
so
there's so
crazy
many
that
great
it's still this
quotes that
relevant.
have come out of it. And there's also classic films like The Princess Bride, for instance, which is incredibly quotable. You can get t-shirts, there's memes, there's all kinds of stuff that continuously references a film that should be way past its expiration date. And so properties like Mean Girls, The Office, The Princess Bride, despite the fact that they're not like blockbusters with incredible marketability like the Marvel franchise, for instance, they last because the lines are adaptable to different situations. The
Yeah, the
tone
memes,
allows for
the quotes.
sincerity and humor, so it feels relatable. And the memes come from affection and a place of real laughter as opposed to mockery. When we contrast that
Yeah.
with the meme culture that's driven purely by irony and nonsensical and just the desire to put as much out there and get something to catch on
Just to
quickly,
yap about.
like the skibbity toilet. What the is skibbity toilet? It burns out
6'7".
fast, and it annoys the older people that don't know what 6'7" is about. The second pillar is
6'7".
merch, but it's not just merch. It's not just the simple act of paying $30 for a t-shirt, which is crazy. It's merch as an identity, and not just
Yeah.
as a product. Fandom merch
Capitalism
works best
as a way to
when
express
wearing
yourself.
it says something about you, about your identity, how you relate to this particular piece of media, this IP. It essentially signals to the rest of society some kind of shared language or shared value. And it makes me laugh when I think about this because way back in the day, I'm talking like 2011, 2012, my best friend and I became as good friends as we eventually became because I
Because of
rolled up
some
to
merch.
my middle school in an Assassin's Creed hoodie I bought at Hot Topic. And I sat down to play the cello one morning, my first morning in beginner orchestra, And he looked at me and said, "You
LOL.
play Assassin's Creed?" And I was like, "Nothing is true. Everything is permitted, baby." And from
Oh
there,
my
we
gosh.
formulated a friendship.
That's
because
hilarious.
the merch wasn't just about representing the product. It was something tied intrinsically to my identity at the time. Franchises like Pokemon, for instance.
That's
yeah,
so
there's
edgy.
merch in the
The
form
assassin,
of cards
the
that have
Ezio
literally
hoodie, that's
carried
so
some
edgy.
people
In
from
middle school,
childhood into
that's like
literally
edge lord
adulthood.
supreme right
But
there.
there's
That's
t-shirts and
hilarious.
plushies and figures and all sorts of
I'm not
things
gonna
that
lie,
really
though.
made Pokemon a
My old Wizard 101 like login that I used for like my username was Ezio Auditore 123KO. Hey, and I had him as my computer lock screen. And you know how you do like the little there's like the little Windows thing where you had to you could either have like your password or like your PIN, or you could have like an image and then you like do certain things on the image to like unlock your computer. I had like the image of Ezio that was like had his like hidden blades out, and then I had like the little pattern on that. It's not lost on me. That's hilarious.
staple in pop culture. And when we think about another IP like Harry Potter, for instance, there's wands,
you guys
there's
ever do
shirts,
that?
there's robes. People are able to identify themselves via
The
whatever
Windows
Hogwarts
passwords?
school they happen to be in.
That
I mean,
weren't passwords,
it's
like the
really
little image
easy for
thing?
people
Or was
to
that, like,
don these different
something that
pieces
people
of
just didn't mess
merch
with?
and identify themselves. It's not just, you know, this is something that I like, but it's kind of like, this is who I am. This is what I believe in. And
like
merch
identity.
only fails to make a fandom culturally relevant when there's oversaturation of merch. There's too much variety, there's too much of it, especially when it's tied to characters that people don't love, and when the merch just starts to feel like corporate slop without any emotional meaning beyond that. And our last pillar, which
That
I
is
think is
not what
actually
the
the most
Grogu merch
important
was. We
one,
can
is
confirm that.
rewatchability and comfort. And this one, again, is huge. When you look
Yeah,
at
that
some
one's
pieces of
that one's
content, some
100%
things are
huge because I'm rewatching some arcs in One Piece right now, literally right now as we speak. Not right now because the TV went off to the sleep mode, but it was on a second ago. It was on.
to stand the test of time because they comfort people, because people want to go back and rewatch
Do
them
like a
over
yearly
and over
Star
because
Wars
it brings them,
rewatch.
I wouldn't just say the comfort of nostalgia, but it means something to them. It triggers something within them. I've seen The Office start
like
to finish
whatever
like 7
different
to 8
media.
times. And by seeing it, I mean I have it on as like background noise or whatever, but I've made it through the entirety of the show because there's something comforting about it to me, and I
Brings you
still
back to,
really
like,
enjoy hearing it and watching
different
it and
time
having it on. A
sometimes.
lot of people feel that way about Friends, for instance. That's why literally
Yeah.
30 years later, it's still a
Still
huge franchise
relevant.
that people rewatch and buy merch of and reference
Yeah.
all
I
the
was
time.
never that
Something
onto
like
Friends, though.
Avatar, for instance.
I was never, Avatar for sure. But I was never really on the Friends thing. Like I know why people like it. I get why people like it. But I guess for me, that's like that's not something that I ever grew that attached to because I would just always hang out with like a lot of my friends anyway. So I never really watched like Friends, the show. I guess I never felt like I got drawn into it. It felt like I would have been like if I were like maybe if I got into it like when I didn't have as many friends, maybe I would have like felt like more attachment to it. But I feel like I just got a lot of that like feeling from hanging out with my actual friends.
I know you guys think I'm about to defend the blue people, and I'm not. I'm actually talking about Avatar: The Last
Oh,
Airbender.
The Last Airbender, yeah.
I didn't watch it growing up, but I know people who I don't consider nerds or people
Hey,
like us,
that's
you know,
crazy
in the geek
work.
fandom type thing, that watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, that are now in
makes
like their
sense.
late 20s and
Some people
30s,
don't.
that are still rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender because it's a rewatchable show and it brings
I
them
still do.
comfort. They
I
identify
did
with it
like
and it
some
brings
arcs
them
of it
joy to
earlier
see
this
it.
year.
And the other
actually.
one that I
Like,
think
a
is
couple weeks ago, actually,
huge
I
when it
started
comes
watching
to
some.
this is the Lord of the Rings franchise. I still
came
have
on,
not
like, Pluto
seen
TV.
it. Please just be nice to me about it. I can't go on the open bar without anybody bringing it up. I know. I
Lord of the
get it.
Rings.
I watched part of the first movie on a plane and I was tired because I had been up since 3. I liked what I was seeing, but I was like, I don't want to fall asleep through this movie. And I turned it off. And then too much time passed. So I was like, well, I'm going to have to watch the whole thing all over again. And I just haven't, I have not prioritized it. I'm sorry. But the point is that Lord of the Rings, even
be
though the
like that.
franchise has not put out a new movie in years because
I low key, I'm kind of a menace with stuff like that though. I'm kind of a menace. Like I have some of my friends they were talking about to watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Hey, don't get on me. I haven't seen it yet. I've seen some episodes. I watched like a good bit of the way through. I won't even say like, I forget how many. Maybe it was like, maybe like 23 episodes or maybe 13 episodes that I watched. But they were telling me to watch it in like, I want to say like 2018. And I only just got around to starting watching, I think in like 2023 or something like that. Something crazy. Like, it was probably way before that, actually. It was probably like 2015 that they were talking about it. I still haven't finished it yet to this day. I'm an absolute menace with that. But I will finish it. I will finish
the story they needed to tell.
I put that on everything. I will
People still
finish
love
it.
Lord of the Rings. It's quotable. It's got all these different things to it. People find comfort in it. People identify with the characters. And from what I've heard, even though the movies are longer than I am annoying, they're really rewatchable. What do Friends, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Lord of the Rings have in common? It's three big ones. Emotional consistency, satisfying conclusions, and no retroactive contempt for the audience. Nobody from any of those properties has come out and said, I hate you, I've decided you're all racist, unlike Star Wars. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings me to my next section. How does a fandom lose cultural relevance?
The core of Star Wars is still very much there if you ignore all the bullshit. The core, I'll always say this, the core of Star Wars is still there if you ignore the bullshit that goes on around it, right? You can always just say, hey, I want to pull up and I want to watch the original 6. And it'll always be like that. You don't have to deal with like whatever Kathleen Kennedy's saying or whatever the fandom is saying, whatever, what is her name, Leslie Headland is saying. You don't have to care about any of that. You don't. You really don't.
More and more of it every day, folks. The first is probably the most important one, and that is betrayal, not disagreement. There's a pattern to a betrayal between fandom and fan. It essentially happens when a fan has put in a really long-term emotional investment. So think of a show that had a lot of seasons, right? How you felt about it after really watching that many seasons, all the characters, how emotionally invested you get in a series that goes on for, I don't know, 9 seasons. And then how do we get to that betrayal? There are endings and choices made in these endings that essentially invalidate that investment. Whatever you've been watching, it didn't build up to what it basically teased you for, and it leaves you hanging. And so essentially, fans will be mad for a time. But unlike most women, we will not be mad and hold a grudge forever. I can say these things because I am one, and I do hold grudges forever. Fans don't stay riling themselves up forever. They actually just leave. And they throw away their t-shirts, and they get rid of their keychains, and they get rid of their collection.
I don't know, man. Star Wars fans? I don't know. People still yell about the same stuff for years. People still probably on Ryan Johnson's ass right now. I can go to some comment sections, probably still people see roasting Ryan Johnson for The Last Jedi, even though that shit was like, what, like 6, 7 years ago? 6, 7 years ago.
And they stopped thinking about the fandom entirely. And we're always talking about how apathy is way worse than hate, and that's where a lot of these fandoms find themselves. And if you think any of this sounds like I'm describing Game of Thrones, you are totally f***ing right. Game of Thrones is a great example of a show that lost all of its cultural relevance because of the betrayal of the fandom by the last season. The other way that a fandom loses cultural relevance is overproduction without meaning. There are a lot of IPs that I think are going to be prolific because they need to be. And
I gotta say The Last Jedi now. Dang, now I'm one of those people in the comments talking about it. But no, I do think, especially with that casino scene, overproduction without meaning.
Valid in being prolific. You look at how Final Fantasy, for instance, I mean, there's a lot of years sometimes between each release, but there's now like 16 mainline games and spin-offs and all sorts of things, but it's not really overproduction without meaning because each story is made with so much love, with so much care. Everybody can find at least one Final Fantasy game to really care about. But there are some IPs that we've talked about, especially here on this channel, that have learned overproduction without meaning because they've become money hungry. And they're blind to serving the fans. All they want is for people to consume.
Like the music
when
though.
all you're doing is making things for people to
W
consume,
composer, man.
you're
W
not really
music.
making things for them to enjoy. Of course, my mind goes immediately to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which has that post-Endgame fatigue. I don't know that it's superhero fatigue. I think it's just what they did after Endgame, this constant stream of content.
Yeah,
that wasn't
Endgame really
particularly
changed it.
good.
Endgame kind of was an
really
Endgame
did
for a certain
damage to
era.
the Marvel brand, especially when it comes to pop culture standings.
Kevin
Too much
Feige, he was like, all right, we're
content
switching it
makes
up.
audiences feel like they're being trained
Which, I mean,
to disengage, and nothing feels important
think some parts of
because
it were
there's just
good.
a constant
Really good.
barrage of coming out, and when there's, God, that sounded so terrible. When there's that much stuff happening, nothing feels important. There's nothing to focus on. And then, of course, the last
it
way
loses
that a
the
fandom
weight.
loses cultural relevance is by being hostile toward its audience. I would argue this
Shout out Star
kills
Wars.
relevance faster than anything. When fans are framed
Still
as
relevant, though,
toxic
'cause you
for
can't bring it
caring
down that
and for
easily.
speaking out, when criticism is dismissed as some sort of moral failure, when the creators are talking down to the viewers get angry and then they just stop watching. Because most of the time when a fandom feels unwelcome, it doesn't fight back, it just
Leaves,
disengages quietly. And it
Yeah.
might fight back for a long enough time, like the fandom that I'm thinking about, but eventually people do just start to disengage. And if you've been thinking about Star Wars,
Yep.
bingo, very astute observation, gold star sticker for you. And
Hey,
so as we
got
come
it.
to my last point, why do some fandoms survive really long gaps? Because for instance, you can't kick a rock in a Comic-Con without hitting some form of Alien merchandise or Jurassic Park,
Yep.
Jaws
See,
even.
Jurassic Park
and
is
all
different.
of these are pieces of content that have had
Jurassic
some pretty
Park,
big gaps.
it's hard to hate Jurassic Park. I mean, yeah, you can call out the new movies, but like, I feel like Jurassic Park for me is like in the same vein as, not in the same vein as Star Wars in a whole, but in the point that I made earlier to where it's like, yo, you can say, you can take like the core original movies that were good. Like you could take the core 3 movies of like Jurassic Park, like the 1, 2, 3, right? And say, hey, you know what? Those are like kind of untouched by time a little bit. But then when you get to the newer ones, they kind of get a little bit iffy. I feel like when people are talking about it, especially, and like when you look at the storyline, that's when things start to actually kind of like get, you know, they start to like kind of, it gets washed, rinsed, and repeated a little bit, a little diluted. Still entertaining to me personally, just because like I like seeing dinosaurs on the screen and like doing cool stuff, and like the raptor stuff. People thought the raptor stuff was like really corny, but I kind of liked it. Like the blue, like it was corny, I will admit. It was very corny, but I kind of liked it. Not gonna lie. But yeah, I think it's like similar to that, and then Star Wars, like you can take the core of it and just be happy with it. You can just kind of ignore the newer stuff if you want. But if you want to be involved in the fandom, obviously you gotta like, you can talk about the newer stuff. But if you just want to enjoy the media, it's always there to just enjoy.
Apps between films. I mean, Jurassic Park has been making one a year for the past, few years. There's been some Alien stuff recently as well. But even before these sort of resurgences due to legacy sequels and like that, IPs like Jurassic Park, Alien, and Jaws, they're kind of just always there. They always feel relevant. And it's one of those things where you go, well, how, right? It's been so long. But content like that endures because it has a really strong identity. And because of that strong identity, it essentially staked its claim as like a classic, everybody has to watch these. And so they're just almost impossible to erase from the blackboard of pop
they're
culture.
gonna be there.
These are
They're gonna
self-contained
stay.
original works.
The
And
core
really, there's
movies,
no
they're
need
gonna
for
stay.
constant validation. I find that I don't think it's silence or a lack of content that kills relevance. I actually think that things become increasingly more irrelevant as they keep watering it down with reboots and sequels and all that kind of stuff that disrespects what was previously established. Because I almost feel like I heard better things about Jurassic Park as a franchise before they started with the whole Jurassic World thing. And I think that I would probably speak more highly of Jurassic Park as a franchise if these later movies didn't suck. In my mind, I'm not judging anybody
But,
who likes them.
hey.
I'm just saying that's my feeling about it. And so the important part is
See,
that
they did kinda get a
cultural
little washy,
relevance
but
is
I still
not
like 'em
really
overall.
defined by output. Cultural relevance is actually really just maintained by
Because to me, it's not that
trust
deep.
in the IP.
It's not like I'm expecting Jurassic Park to be on the same level of like plot idiosyncrasies as like Game of Thrones, right? It's a completely different thing. I feel like the highlight in Jurassic Park in and of itself is the dinosaurs, you know what I mean? So it's like although the plot is although the writing has been a little shaky, it isn't the reason why I'm going, if that makes sense. It's kind of like Avatar. I feel like in a Avatar, not the Avatar, the Last Airbender, obviously, but Avatar, the Na'vi, the blue people Avatar. I feel like I'm not going to see Avatar because I'm just like, yo, this is the best. This is Game of Thrones level, George R. Martin in his prime level writing. That's not why I'm going. I'm going because I want to see different stuff on screen. That's just me, though.
Affection for the IP and restraint from the people that basically hold the keys to the castle when it comes to these IPs, right? If they're not churning out garbage to make a buck, then
not
we
that I'm
keep
excusing bad writing. I obviously would enjoy if they had better writing, but I'm saying it's not the reason why I'm going. So it's not make or break for me, personally.
reverence for the old thing that we fell in love with. And so unfortunately, even now, what we're seeing with other properties like Star Trek and Doctor Who, once those three things are gone, that trust, that affection, and that restraint, once that's no longer there, there's just no amount of
those
memes,
are kind of the ones
merch,
that I'm not really that
of
into.
spin-offs.
Star Trek and Doctor
Nothing
Who.
can
I
bring
appreciate them
that
for what they are. I've
property,
seen
that
a couple of
IP
episodes
back
of them when
from the
some
brink,
friends showed it to
or
me, but
back
that's
from
kind
the
of it.
pit where
I liked
Game of
them,
Thrones
while I
now
was
sits
watching.
rotting.
It was
I
fun.
don't think cultural
But they don't
relevance
hit the
is the
same as
only
Star
thing that
Wars for
defines
me.
quality, because at the end of the day, I think leaning into the pop culture, everything has to be a multiverse, everything has to be a big franchise thing. I think
Doesn't
that
have to
that's
be.
killing a lot of great
Yeah, it does
movies
not
and a
have
lot
to
of
be. It
great
can just be
things
a
that are little
contained
baby
story and be
IPs that don't
great.
need to be expanded upon. But I think it's important for us to analyze cultural relevance and figure out what makes something cultural relevant. Again, I didn't make this video to defend Avatar, which is why I didn't talk about it, because the more I talked about it, like, I've actually just been on a train of consciousness for most of this video, and I've realized, holy it's not relevant. I'm just kind of obsessed with it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I mean,
cultural relevance does not define your ability
it's
to
relevant
love
to
and
me.
respect something. That is all on you.
When
I
it
just
comes
thought
up.
this video would be interesting to make, to figure out what exactly makes pop culture tick in that way. At the end of the day, it's also always going to be a moving goalpost, and I think it's always going to depend on who is saying something is culturally relevant or irrelevant. But hey, whatever floats your boat, right? And that's all from me. I've been Snarky J. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. For more Snarky J, be sure to check me out on Instagram. And if you'd like to support me, this channel, and my content creation, do check out and consider
What do y'all
subscribing
think
to my
about that,
Patreon
though?
for exclusive photo
As
shoots
far
and
as
some
like
cosplay
culturally
content. I'll have
relevant
links to all of those in the description below. And let me know a fandom that you think is falling into cultural irrelevance.
Yeah, low
in the
key
comments below.
cultural irrelevancy, because like honestly, a lot of stuff to me personally has become culturally irrelevant just because I'm not like immersed in it. Not culturally irrelevant. Like if I were to look at other people, would I say that they're gonna be thinking that's irrelevant? But more of like a personal thing. It's just like I'm not focused on it right now. But that's a lot of things. I'm not like I don't have my nose in like every piece of media all the time. I'm just not like that. There's been moments where I have been, but unless like people are like coming to me saying like, hey, check this out, look at this, look at this, look at that, let's go watch this together or something like that, probably not going to be poking too much around in it, or unless I'm like doing a stream about it now, because I'm starting to do more of that. So yeah, that aside though, we got an entirely new video right now, you know what I'm saying? Why scammers are silent when you answer. I've been wondering about this because I've had a bunch of people scam calling me lately, and just not hearing anything, just been like, I'll be silent right there with them when I pick up. I'm not saying, most of the time I don't say anything. I'll just be like, click. And then I hear him hang up. I'm like, okay, all right, it was that. Because if it was somebody that was trying to talk to me, they would have probably said something when they heard me pick up. So.
The phone rings from a number you don't recognize, you answer it, and you're met with nothing. Just dead air.
Nothing.
Well, today, we're going to unravel that whole frustrating mystery.
Okay.
You know that feeling. You pick up, you say hello, maybe a little louder, hello, and all you get back is silence before that sudden click. It feels like a mistake, a dropped call, but it's way more than that. It's actually a calculated first move. Yeah, that silence, it's not a bad connection. It's not a butt dial. We're about to pull back the curtain and show you how that dead air is actually the very first step in a massive, high-tech, and totally automated scamming operation.
How is it?
So first things first, let's get right into it. Why does this seemingly
All
pointless
right, I
call
want to
even
know so I
happen?
can counter this.
Let's unravel this thing.
Yeah.
You might picture a huge room full of people dialing phones, but that's not it at all. The reality is way more efficient and honestly a little scary. It's
Okay.
a single, very sophisticated piece of tech doing
Okay.
all the heavy lifting. And that system is called a predictive dialer.
What?
Think of it as a robot whose only job is to make sure that the human scammers are always talking to someone, never wasting a second waiting. And this machine, this predictive dialer, is the number one reason you hear that silent pause. So here's how it all
What?
goes down. The dialer is blasting out calls to dozens of numbers at the exact same time.
Okay.
It's constantly calculating, constantly predicting when a human scammer is about to finish their last call. The
Okay.
second you answer, an alarm bell goes off in the system. Ding, 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 we've got a live one. But the human scammer might not be free for another second or two. That silence you're hearing, that's the lag time. That's the machine scrambling to connect you to the next free person.
Oh, so they're trying to get. So if you're just chilling there, you're like, yeah, I'll wait for the scammer. Yo, but they always hang up mad quick though. It always hangs up mad quick. That's why I'll be waiting. I'm just like, hello? I don't talk. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just like, and then it clicks off. Yo, I didn't know they were like waiting to get someone to come scam me or to come try to scam me.
But here's the twist. That silence isn't just a technical delay.
Okay.
The machine has another, even more critical job to do in those
Another
few
one?
seconds. It's actually testing you. It's trying to find out if you're a real human being. It is literally
maybe it thinks
listening
I'm a
for
bot.
any human sound. The moment you say hello, yeah, or even just clear your throat, the microphone picks it up. And in that instant, a little flag goes up
I don't
next to
say
your number in
nothing.
its system. A flag that says live. It now knows your number is active, and more importantly, it's attached to a real breathing person who answers their phone. You just passed their test. So you've said hello, and you've passed their test without even knowing it? So what happens next? Well, that one little word is basically the key that unlocks their whole plan. By saying a single word, you've done their job for them. You've
Oh,
just
no.
transformed your phone number from a completely random entry in a gigantic database into a validated, confirmed, and now valuable lead for their entire operation.
Oh no.
And I mean valuable. Your number just became a hot commodity. This confirmation means it can be immediately pushed into a queue for another, more direct attack. Or even worse, it can be packaged up and sold on a list to other scam call centers all over the world.
Oh no.
Your voice literally just increased the market value of your phone number. They're not just confirming you're real, they're building a little profile on you. First,
Identity
they validate
theft?
you're human.
Please,
We got that.
no.
Second, they fingerprint your number. They log the exact time of day you answered. Are you an afternoon answerer? Do you pick up in the morning? They're learning your habits. And third, they prioritize you. Your number now gets bumped right to the top of the hot list for immediate personalized scam calls. You know, the ones where they have a whole script ready to go just for you. Okay, now
Ain't
that
no
we know
script
their
that's gonna
entire
work
playbook,
though.
it's
If
time.
someone calls my phone on bullshit, I'm hanging up immediately, or I'm just gonna entertain them and like yap it up. Yeah, yeah, just talk. Like, no, there's not gonna be many people that are calling for actual things that I don't know that they're calling. So like, them calling about random stuff, like from a random number, especially if they sound like they're trying to like get me on something that I wasn't already made an inquiry about, it's a non-starter. It's never going anywhere.
Time to talk defense. Let's go over the simple but incredibly powerful ways you can completely disrupt their system and make your
Okay.
phone number totally worthless
Don't
to them.
talk or
So
don't
here it
answer.
is. The most crucial point, the number one takeaway is this.
Yep. That's why I don't
Never,
talk.
ever say yes
I
or
didn't know
hello.
that, but I
Your
figured
only
if it
goal
was,
is to deny
then
that
they would
machine
try to
the
get
one
me in
thing it is
something. So I just
desperately
wait.
listening for, which is the sound of a human voice.
Mm-hmm.
This simple little change in your strategy can defeat their entire
Yep,
system.
stays completely
I mean, look at
silent.
this. What they want to hear is hello. What you should do is stay completely silent. They're listening
Mm-hmm.
for yes? Is anyone there? And you're going to give them nothing. Remember, any sound you make is a win for them. So your best move is just to hang up after a few seconds of their silence. Okay, this is the most effective tactic. Let's just call it the silent answer method. It's so simple. 1, you answer the call from that unknown number.
So I
2,
have been doing
you
the
say
right thing.
absolutely nothing. Don't breathe, don't cough, nothing. 3, just wait, like
Pause.
3 seconds. The automated system, hearing 0
It'll
human
drop
sounds,
it.
will assume it's a dead line or a voicemail, and it'll hang up and remove you from its list. And here's the bonus. If it happens to be a real person you actually
Exactly.
know, they will almost always be the first one to speak to break that
Exactly. So
awkward
I've been doing the
silence.
right thing all
And
along.
hey,
All right.
if you
I'm
want to
glad to
build
know
up your
I'm locked
defenses
in.
even more, you can add some extra layers. The easiest one?
What's that?
Just let unknown numbers go straight to voicemail.
Yeah.
If it's important, they'll leave a message.
Yeah.
You should also dig into your phone settings and look for a feature like Silence Unknown Callers. It filters them out before they even ring. And you know, for those of you who like to fight back a little, you can always get creative. Some people have fun with it, answering with City Morgue or Police Department Fraud Division. That's a pretty quick way to deter any human scammer who's looking for an easy mark. And that's it.
Yo, just cap and be like, all right, police department. Yo, they're gonna be like, hey, hang up, hang up. You're gonna be in there going crazy.
Their whole system exposed. By just
So I've
understanding
been doing
the
the
why
right thing. All
behind
right,
that
I'm glad to
weird
know.
silent call,
I'm glad
you've completely
to
flipped
know.
the script on them. You're no longer the target. You are totally in control. So the next time an unknown number calls, you'll know exactly what to do.
Glad to know. What is the
and
name
more
of this channel?
importantly,
Senior
what
Minded.
not to say.
Is this like a? Is this a channel that like helps seniors stay competent in the modern era? Let me look actually. What is this about? I'm probably not gonna subscribe, but this kind of looks like it. Yeah. There's like pictures of old ladies on here. Yeah, that's what it's looking like. Yeah. Maybe I'll send this to my grandma or something, but it's not really much use to me, partially. Oh, there's probably something of value in here, but I'm not going to subscribe because I don't want to get flooded in the algorithm for it. W video, though. W channel. I'm glad you're out here doing this for the community, doing this for the seniors, man. This is W work right here. I appreciate this a lot. A lot. What's this? Okay, we got another video here. What is this? Oh, how Walt Disney staked everything on Disneyland. Should we watch this now? I feel like... What's up? Is that my nephew? I think that's my nephew calling me. Hold on. Oh, why is he calling on that number? Who's that? Let me see. Hold on a second. Oh, it is. Who's it? Okay, I'll have to talk to him later. Boy. I'll talk to him later. Okay. What were we doing? Disneyland, right? Yeah, let's do that.
Of 1955, Walt Disney had a problem.
I was waiting for him to call back because he usually calls like a couple times. He's like 7. He's almost 7. But like whenever he calls, he'll usually call like a bunch of times if I don't answer. But maybe he's chilled off that phase right now.
He was a few weeks off opening his most audacious venture yet, and he had a decision to make.
Should he install flushing toilets or drinking fountains?
His plumbers had gone on strike, and there wasn't enough time to do both. This was the last thing he needed. He was heavily in debt and had decided to stake not just his reputation, but his personal fortune on building an amusement park. Something which was normally free to enter.
But he wasn't worried. By combining technical wizardry with the magic of the big screen, Disney had hit upon his most consequential innovation.
Hold on, should we skip this one for now?
One
What's
that
the
would-
next one in the thing? Let's find out. Let's see what's the next one. We might skip this one for now. I think I do want to skip this one for now. W video though, I think I put it right. This is probably gonna be a good video, but I think we watched a lot of Disneyland stuff beforehand. So we're not gonna finish it right now, but we're just gonna skip to the next two. The last two, the final two. W video, the B1N. Alright, the women that this woman lives every day like it's 1958. Yo, you don't have rights, huh? She doesn't have rights. How is she outside? Why are you outside? Why are you showing your ankles? That is not the place you want to be living in. Yo, what? Now, let me see what the comments are saying. Everyone's nerdy about something. Immortal. She's not delusional. She's not forcing it on anyone. Now, she should have people be playing along and then having people stop her on the streets like, cover up, you harlot. She's showing her ankles.
I'm Lacey Faye, and I live every day like it's 1958. People's
Are her
reaction
husbands in on it?
is it's almost always positive. This is who I am. This is what I like, and I feel like you should do what you like. You should do what makes you feel beautiful and dress however you want to dress that makes you feel the most like you.
People will stop dead in their tracks, and they'll just stop, and their eyes are fixed on her as Will walks by.
He's eating it up. He's
One
loving
place
it.
in town that kind of brings in the 1950s vibe.
This is what like is this what a lot of like red pill community people want, right? They want girls like her that want to just like they want to be that 1950s housewife America type lady. But this is highly abstracted from like what it really would have been like. She would not have been out there walking around like that by herself probably, right? I would have to imagine. Not like in that, I don't know. Maybe she looks like she's showing too much skin. I'm gonna just say it for that era of time, and she would have probably like. There's a bunch of problems with this. I feel like she wouldn't have this many rights.
Well, is the local pharmacy. It's called Bullet Drug, and they have a soda fountain. They have a jukebox. It makes it a lot of fun.
Was she allowed to vote by then? Did she vote? Cause she's breaking the character. She's breaking character. She's out here voting, right? Am I tripping? Wait, when did women get the right to vote in America? Which date was it exactly? Oh my gosh. It was 1920s. Oh my gosh, I'm out of touch. Now I'm gonna sound sexist. What's the word? Oh man. Now I'm gonna sound misogynistic as hell. Wait. The Fifth Amendment was passed? Wait. In 1870. Alright, I'm tripping. Alright. I'll take the L on that one. I thought it would happen a little bit later. But yeah, I thought it happened a little bit later. Wait. I'm just trying to find it. Wait. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was crucial for most women of color. Okay, that's the one I was thinking about. Okay. So women of color would have been in 1965. All right. Bet.
Chocolate Sunday?
Let's do it.
Is she racist too? Not all like people in America were racist back then, obviously, but I don't know. Kind of a coin flip back then, I feel like.
As soon as I put on the first 1950s dress with my
You gotta
hair and
commit,
makeup
man.
done,
No
that's when I
half
felt like I
measures,
was
bro. If you're gonna
finally
live in the
found my authentic
1950s,
self,
bro,
and I've never
you
looked
better
back
be
since
spamming
then.
the hard art. I'm kidding. I
I really honed
kidding.
in on the 1950s
No.
because of my grandparents.
Please don't
They
take us
got
back
married
to
in
that time, man.
1955, and
I
their
am
stories,
so
it
glad
just made it sound
of the
like the
work
best
that
time
everybody
ever.
had done to get us to
Everything's
this
beautiful, colorful, happy, optimistic. We bought our home 4 years ago, and it was built in 1953. So we've tried to
pretty cool.
pack as much in as we can while keeping it authentic. I don't want it to look like it's a 50s museum. I want it to look like it's an authentic 1950s home that you've walked into.
Yeah, she got the little hard candies.
When people walk into our house for the first time, a smile comes on everybody's face.
Freeze out. Now, see, that does look authentic, I'm not gonna lie, with the colors and everything.
Our 1950s kitchen,
That's dope.
I've tried to do as authentic as I could, and I think the appliances work better. It was built to last forever, that you would keep that forever, and I think so. I mean, a fridge's been running for 70 years. It's fine. It's not
70.
stopped yet.
She's got that old fridge, though.
The only
not
room
moldy or
that's not decorated 50s is my son's room.
She would have had to get a clean
So we
one.
let him choose.
It feels so normal to me now that I wouldn't really
That's
think of
good.
it as different anymore. When we first moved into the house and started getting more objects secondhand, I always thought that was kind of weird, but it just got to be so normal, and now it's like fun. You go to the thrift store and find something that just makes our house perfect.
Oh, he likes that. Okay, he's into it.
This front
I guess
section
he's supporting
is
his mom
true
doing what she
vintage.
likes to do.
One of
That's
my
kinda
favorite
cool, I guess.
ones.
That's a W,
I
son.
just barely found a couple of
Personally,
months ago.
me personally though, I'm not gonna lie, that's not my vibe. Granted that we would never have that anyways in our household probably, but like, not my vibe. The whole 1950s stuff, not my vibe at all. My mom would probably be like, she'd probably do some 80s stuff, if anything. She would probably have like stuff decked out in like 80s stuff. I'd have to imagine.
And it's actually like an early
'Cause that's her
50s,
favorite
late
stuff.
40s. Another one of my favorites is this one. And
I actually have one of her jackets actually that I went to what's it called for there's this one movie that I did, or it was a show actually that was like in the 80s. It was Hysteria, and I had brought one of the jackets to use. This was like a couple years ago. I had brought one of the jackets to use that my mom had from like back when she was like a wee lad back in the 80s. But I had like one of her like little puffer kind of, I don't even know what kind of jackets they called, like the multicolored jackets that they had and stuff like that.
love it because it was given to me by the original owner.
To me, the 1950s style is normal. I understand that to outside folks looking in that it could be weird, but I think everybody's weird in their own way. Everybody's nerdy about something, and it might as well be something that you love.
That's fair. I'll give you that. I think one of the comments said that too, right?
The
Oh,
other
was that
day,
it?
I was thinking about it.
Oh, okay. Hey, you know what? Hey, you do you. You do you. I cannot advocate enough for that. However, me personally, I would have not enjoyed being in the house like that all the time with no real life appliances. Like, I know she had her 1920s appliances or 1950s appliances, but was that the whole house with appliances? Like, did the son, I guess he didn't really cook, so that probably didn't affect him. But me personally, I would have liked to have like real appliances, a microwave, like an oven, something that you can make like good food quickly, like one of those little sous vide machines or something like that. I'm bougie for that, but something that you can make good food quickly with, not trying to like be by the fire every morning or to make some eggs. Maybe I'm gassing. I don't know if like the technology was that good back then, because obviously I wasn't around. I'm just not thinking about it. They had gas stoves, right? What kind of stoves were in the 50s America? I think they were all gas stoves, right? Yeah. Vintage gas ranges. Let me see. Let's look at the images. Okay, so it was normal, like normal stove, but probably still way more than I would have liked to to do when I wake up and wanted some food. But yeah, when I was his age, I was cooking stuff, like doing full household chores. So I don't know if that affects him, but
And I realized
because she's a housewife, right? She's in the 1950s.
You know who these dang Gen Zers remind me of? The song.
All right, but we got another one. Why is Gen Z culture basically medieval China? Yeah, I put the B in that base, bro. Hold on. By medieval mindset, okay? All right, let's get into it.
Dynasty from medieval China. Anyone else been feeling this way lately? No, it's just me? Well, let me explain what I mean.
I mean, what do you mean by that?
The other day I was thinking about it and I realized, you know who these dang...
Is it because, oh, you know what? I can honestly see a little bit of it. I can see a little bit of it. There's like the gender wars. There's the alpha male, like, what's it called, system that people are trying to set up. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like the warlord like dynasties, you know, everybody trying to have like their little kingdoms and their like little empires and stuff that they're trying to build up. There's a lot of whores, a lot of courtesans, palace maids and all that. You know what I'm talking about? All the OF models. I don't know. You know what? Let's see where he's going with this.
Gen Zers remind me of? The Song Dynasty from medieval China. Anyone else been feeling this way lately? No, it's just me? Well, let me explain what I mean. There's all this new data to suggest that younger people these days want to spend their money on experiences, not physical items. I think it reflects this growing hunger for third spaces, and if you don't know what third spaces are, let me just quickly break it down for you. Basically, your two main spaces are home and work, and historically the third space was somewhere in the middle. Maybe it was the bar, or the guild hall, or the tea house. These have all but gone extinct recently or have become prohibitively expensive, and young people are feeling it. They want the third spaces back. This maybe feels like a very 21st century vibes-based phenomenon, but it's actually extremely Chinese. The Song Dynasty was the first era in history to have what we would consider as a lifestyle culture, where the cities were actually designed for pleasure and snacking and nighttime entertainment, just like so many downtown areas are today. There was this 12th century writer named Meng Yuan Lao who wrote this fascinating memoir called The Record of a Dream of Splendor at the Eastern Capital. It's one of these shocking works from the Middle Ages that I love reading because it seems like it was written by someone recently instead of someone 1,000 years ago. He writes this whole nostalgic reminiscence of the Song capital city, Kaifeng, and talks all about the 24-hour tea houses and the professional performers and storytellers and the specific vibes of the different districts. There's this one section where he talks about restaurant culture. I'll just quote the full thing here and you tell me if this sounds familiar. When the guests arrive, a single person holding chopsticks and a menu questions all of the seated guests. The men of the capital are extravagant and they demand 100 different things. Some hot, some cold, some warm, some regular, some extremely cold, and things like noodles laced with lean and fatty meat. Everyone orders something different. The waiter takes the orders and draws near a counter where he stands in line and recites the orders off from the start. I don't know, this to me literally sounds like a night out in 2026. I'm positive this isn't what you would picture in your head when you hear the word medieval. Also, just to give you a historical timeline here, this is basically China on the eve of the eventual Mongol invasion, and it's a time and a place
Europe was like, medieval Europe was like, if you're not the king, sorry. You're out of luck, you're out of everything.
Consumerism is starting to flourish, and it's becoming a core identity for younger people. Bringing it back to Gen Z, I've noticed that there's this big obsession with what I would call curated living. I don't know, maybe I'm not describing it accurately, but it is super vibes-based, like life is one big Pinterest board. Think of terms like cozy games or the aesthetics of going on a walk around the city with an nice
people are. I feel like that's a lot of Gen Z women, though, that are just concerned with aesthetics of life and not like the content of the life. Not that the content like isn't important, but I feel like the aesthetics are like what's being observed and like perpetuated. I think like there's like this blank girl aesthetic, and you can put whatever word you want, and then that's like you're a Gen Z girl. You're gonna take on whatever life aesthetic you're putting in there. I don't know if you're on Instagram, whatever that community who like does that stuff. That's how I observe it, at least.
It's this sort of return to the Song Dynasty scholar, gentleman, urban ideal. Your status isn't just about money, although that'll obviously always be important. It's about your taste. Back then, it was about your taste in tea and incense and interior design. Now it's more so about your taste in underground music and niche TikTokers. The youth don't want to be told what's cool anymore by commercials and MTV with big corporations calling the shots. They want to create their own experiences. They want to get medieval Chinese again.
Yeah,
Also,
that's
semi-relatedly, there's been a big surge in
That's a
traditional
W, honestly.
Chinese medicine
Wait,
trend.
day one of being a
Also,
Chinese
semi-relatedly,
baddie?
There's been a big surge in traditional.
See, there's the Chinese baddie aesthetic. You could guarantee you, there's somebody that look. We're gonna Google it right now. Guarantee you, something comes up. Chinese baddie aesthetic. We're gonna take that. We're gonna do a little test. Do blank, girl or baddie or whatever, anything that means female form, and then aesthetic, and then that's a whole archetype that you could put anything into, and people will get behind it. So let's see, Chinese baddie aesthetic. There it is. Boom, easy. That's hilarious. All right, we're not gonna do all that. We're not gonna get into all that though. I'm just doing it for
medicine
the
trends
for
among
the bit.
Westerners. On TikTok recently, you see it everywhere. A number of Chinese American
Day
influencers
one of
have been
being
sort of
Chinese?
introducing
Huh?
these ancient concepts like qigong practice.
That was so silly. I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that.
Chinese American influencers have been sort of introducing these ancient concepts like qigong practice or drinking hot
qigong.
water instead of cold water, and the internet has been going crazy
Yeah, I do
for it.
qigong
So maybe
and tai
medieval
chi.
China is making a comeback in more ways than one. We won't just focus on the Song Dynasty here. There's more to China in the Middle Ages than just that one period, but I do have
And
a few
yoga.
more song boxes I want to check before we continue.
Before we do that, just a quick plug. If you back to the video.
Maybe you've heard of the modern
UW
phenomenon
plug,
of
bro.
looks maxing, or maybe you aren't chronically online and have no
Yeah,
idea what I'm
alright.
talking about. Basically,
looks
looks
maxing is
maxing is the new version of the age-old concept of getting
Listen,
hot. Although
I only say, look, I get the whole looks maxing thing. That's why I think I'm so grateful and so fortunate that like I don't have to do any of these things to like be comfortable with how I look. Because like I think my natural face, like how I was born and like how I like take care of my skin and everything, like I wash my face, moisturize my face, wash my hair properly and stuff like that, clean everything, you know what I mean? I'm very happy with like how I look when I take care of myself, you know what I mean? So I'm so glad that I don't have to be like self-conscious about having the perfect chin angle, the perfect chest angle, the perfect V taper. No, like I like being healthy and I like doing it with manageable maintenance. Let's say that. I'm not trying to get up in the morning and do like a 2-hour like morning routine just so I can look and take an Instagram picture. Never do in my life would I ever wish that on myself. I'm so glad to just be able to be like, hey, I like what I look like when I see in the mirror. I like who I see when I see in the mirror, and I can take care of myself and maintain myself for in adequate amount of time that's like comfortable for me, and I'm not stretching to do it. So I'm so grateful for that. I can't explain how grateful I am for that. Some people not as fortunate.
it goes way
And
beyond
he's doing the
diet
chin
and
tucks,
exercise
man.
and
Like,
a little
that's
Botox.
rough, bro. You look
Young-
fine, honestly. I'm gonna be real, bro. You got good hair. You're like your skin looks clean, bro. Like you're probably fine. You're probably fine.
Of getting hot, although it goes way beyond diet and exercise and a little Botox.
Forehead press.
Young people, I would say especially young men, are exploring all of these scientific avenues to try and improve their looks. The most medieval seeming looks maxing method is called bone smashing,
Yeah, bone
and it's
smashing
been
is crazy.
promoted over and over again by probably the most famous looks maxer, a 19-year-old streamer named Clavicular. Looks
Clavicular? Oh, I've
maxer,
seen him.
bone smashing, clavicular. I understand this all might
Isn't
sound
he,
ridiculous to you, but stick with
needs
me
to get
because it's
himself some
interesting.
help.
Also, don't you
Now, he's
want to
in jail
understand
now,
the
right,
youth?
though, right?
Anyway, the way Clavicular describes
Yeah, they
it,
need to get
bone
bro some
smashing
help.
is when you take a tiny hammer and tap hard along your cheekbones and your jawbone.
trained
It
idiots
causes a
only.
temporary swelling that lasts for a few hours and makes those bones look more defined. So it's something you might do just before a night out so you can look more masculine to any ladies you meet. Maybe at this point this isn't a crazy revelation, but it turns out young guys in medieval China had the same insecurities that
Yeah, they were
modern
trying to
men
look
do,
more
and they
masculine.
even went about similar methods of soothing their anxieties. During the Song Dynasty period, there was this really interesting tension between the Wen class, who were the more literary, refined scholars, and the Wu class, who were the more martial and physical warrior caste. Depending on which group you belong to, you'd basically looks max to make sure your outward appearance matched what you represented. So that meant young men who were part of the scholarly class went to these extreme lengths to achieve this sort of refined, pale physical aesthetic with slender features to essentially highlight the fact that they never had to work with their hands. They'd even use specific diets and cosmetic aspects of traditional Chinese medicine to maintain this look that would instantly signal to everyone that they were part of the
I was just
intelligentsia.
watching that part of Wano, the Wano arc, because it was on Pluto TV. With when Big Mom pulled up to what was it, the Udon district, and then Luffy was in jail, and her and Queen were like red bean soup. That's a tangent.
To maintain this
Let's
look
just
that
watch
would
the video.
instantly signal cosmetic aspects of traditional
looks
Chinese
good, though.
with their hands. They'd even use
That does look pretty good though. They got the dumplings in there too, yeah.
specific diets
wanna get
and
some.
cosmetic aspects of traditional Chinese medicine to
Unless I'm
maintain this
tripping,
look
and that's
that would
something completely
instantly
different.
signal to everyone that they were part of the intelligentsia. Those in the military
who?
class, basically who we would consider to be the modern day Chads, focus primarily on
Modern
bone
day Chads.
strength. I don't know, maybe that sounds familiar to you. It wasn't just about
Wait.
primarily on bone strength. I don't know, maybe that
The internet's most DIY beauty trend. Oh yeah, yourself. That's so tough, man. That's so tough.
sounds familiar to you. It wasn't just about muscle, although of course they made sure they were in great shape. It was about the chi energy within and physical density. You wanted to look like a brick wall. That was kind of the physique they were shooting for. It's important to note, of course, that they weren't hitting themselves in the face with hammers like modern looks maxers. Their routine usually included things like hitting sandbags or poles to increase
That's
their bone
actual
density.
exercise,
There was
though.
a 20th century French scholar named Jacques Journet
That's
who
like
specialized
that's
in
just
Chinese.
for health, right? At that point, that's actual exercise. That's like actual that's like physical strength increasing exercises at that point. That's not just purely aesthetic, I feel.
Chinese history, and he talked a lot about how these aspects of appearance
Not just
became
doing, like,
kind of a
crazy stuff, but,
coded
like, the
language of
physical
your
aspect.
class. In the incredibly hierarchical society of medieval China, if you didn't have the specific look, you were culturally invisible. It seems like a lot of young men and young women too feel this way today. If
That's
you just
tough.
look up the term looks maxing
Wait,
on YouTube or
is that
TikTok,
even is that a no? Is that a girl?
too feel this
What?
way today.
Hold on.
If you just look
Okay, they're all dudes. Okay, I was like, all right. At the end of the day, it goes a long way. Not gonna lie. Like, I'm not gonna say like, oh, people shouldn't look smacks, because like that's unrealistic. Like, obviously you want to take care of yourself. You want to make sure you, like, you know, have a physical appearance that you're okay with. But there's a limit. I feel like a lot of people's limits are like way beyond mine, way beyond what I would change. Granted, like I'm very fortunate to where I, you know, don't feel like I need to change that much. So to that, I'm very fortunate. Like I could say I could nitpick about like not having a beard, but I kind of like it. I think it's fine. I think it has character. I've had this for like I probably won't have a full beard. I don't even know, but I feel like this is fine. It is what it is. It's what I have. I'm not really complaining about it. I'm not like, dang man, I wish I had a beard. Da 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 da. I'm gonna go and get these like little beard rollers. Da da da. So my beard. No, it's not that deep, man. It's really not.
look up the term looks maxing on YouTube or TikTok, the insecurity is overwhelming, but it's understandable. We were all vulnerable teenagers once too. But you see these guys giving each other ratings on a scale of 1 to 10 and recommending
like
which
the black
specific
pill community
steroids
stuff.
or looks maxing techniques to try so they can bring their flagging features up to speed. This includes peptides, which as far as I understand are these amino acid based performance enhancers, and the use of GLP-1s like Ozempic, which I feel like people associate with an older audience, but there seemed to be a shocking amount of young people taking them. The medieval Chinese were actually big on this kind of thing too. They were obsessed with elixirs made from rare minerals and herbs that were designed to lighten the body and extend life. A lot of these were incredibly dangerous and
see where the distinction of that is, it's not to extend life in this instance, it's to shorten life at the gain of physical appearance, perceived gain in physical appearance.
Even included mercury, and I'm sure in the next 10 years or so there will be a bunch of studies showing the horrific side effects of looks maxing and peptides. The idea behind this medieval Chinese looks maxing was essentially the same as the idea behind the modern version, using some kind of external chemistry or method to hack your biological limits and achieve this sort of superior physical state. The Chinese wrote a lot of things down, and thankfully a lot of them have survived.
I do stuff like that. I think that stuff is cool because it's like you can get like maximum health benefits from like certain things, like if you were to like combine a bunch of superfoods and stuff like that, like you take kale, like chia seeds or something like that, all like the things that have like that are really nutritionally dense, especially for the nutrients that you might not get in a regular diet if you're just eating like whatever. Stuff like that to me is really cool because I feel like it's you know, it's just good for overall health, but for physical appearance, too much, doing too much.
Centuries. Like the 7th century physician Sun Simao's essential formulas worth 1,000 gold pieces. It was basically this manual for longevity and physical refinement, and if you're familiar with the European concept of balancing the 4 humors, this was along the same lines. Simao describes the body as the concept of balancing.
I've never seen this. What is this? I've never seen this before, ever. What? What is that? Decrepitude? Decrepitude? Phlegm? Water? What? Spring? Childhood? Blood? What is this? What do these things have to do with each other? Manhood? Summer? Yellow bile? Fire? Okay, I can see the summer and fire and all that, or winter and water and then cold. Okay, but like, what about the inner circles? Oh, okay, but decrepitude is probably like what, decaying? So like decaying in winter maybe. Why is old age autumn? Interesting.
The 4 humors. This was along the same line.
I'm gonna have to.
Simao describes the body as this chemical system that can be balanced or enhanced with specific substances.
I just realized
this idea went even further with the medieval Chinese concept of Naidan, or internal alchemy, which taught that the body was composed of 3 main ingredients: qi, jing, and shen, that could be forged into a golden cinder if you were locked in enough on your physical discipline. Locked in is a good term to use here because this sounds just like the trend of locking in that has been popular with Gen Z for at least 5 years now. If you're not familiar, it just means cutting off outside distractions and focusing intently on some kind of personal goal. So maybe getting your side hustle off the ground or working out more regularly or whatever. It's become sort of a cult online, especially among the gym community. And based on what you see from these fitness influencers, it's like your pump and your physique are proof of an internal moral victory, like a victory of the will over the laziness of your base body. A medieval Naidan practitioner.
To a degree, that's true. Right? To a degree, that's very true. Very true. I got nothing to say about that. That's it.
Literally thought the same exact way. They knew that their physical health and their outward radiance was proof that they had successfully cultivated their soul in a way that others couldn't or hadn't. Young people seem way more into fitness now than they did even 10 years ago. I'm not
so
sure
happy
that's a
about
COVID
that
thing,
aspect.
but I love to see it.
It's like mostly motivated by physical, what's the word? Affirmation? Physical. What's the word where you're looking for approval? that, whatever that is, like physical, like affirmation or stuff like that. I feel like a lot of it is motivated by and not purely for physical health. But regardless, nonetheless, I am happy about that. That a lot of people are into that. I am happy about that. I think that's like one of the positives, one of the huge positives of this of our generation, for sure, 100%. Health consciousness in that aspect.
There seems to be a lot of conversation around the idea that your body is the one status symbol you can't really buy. You can buy a Bugatti or a nice watch or whatever, but you can only achieve a truly amazing physique through countless hours in the gym, so it's really the most impressive thing you can have. There's also this quote from the video game Disco Elysium where a bouncer says to the main character, "Your body betrays your degeneracy," and that always sticks in my head when I don't want to go to the gym. I just felt like including that. I like tossing random tidbits into these videos.
You said your body betrays your degeneracy. Measurehead's babe. Yeah, Measurehead, his body totally betrays his degeneracy. The young, it's just, are you admiring my morphophysiology? A ripple of muscle passes underneath his skin. Bro, what is this from? That's hilarious.
So it's really the most impressive thing you can have. There's also this quote from the video game.
I might have to turn the light on actually. Yeah, let me turn the light on because it's getting dark out here. Getting dark out here. Ooh. Okay.
Disco Elysium, where a bouncer says to the main character, "Your body betrays your degeneracy," and that always sticks in my head when I don't want to go to the gym.
Excuse me.
I just felt like including that. I like tossing random tidbits into these videos. Now, most of what I've been talking about so far has come from the Song Dynasty, which lasted for a few centuries right smack dab in the middle of what we would consider the Middle Ages. But the Middle Ages lasted almost 1,000 years, so what about the rest of medieval China? You know what? I'm really glad you asked that. First of all, the Middle Ages happened differently in China than they did in Europe. Basically, even though there are quite a few Song Dynasty parallels, Gen Z is actually in more of a late Ming phase. That's right, I said it. In the earlier Tang Dynasty, which lasted from 618 to 907 AD, your identity was defined by your clan.
Is that the same one, the Tangs? Is that the same one that Road of Empress is based in, that game? Let me see. What time period is Road to Empress in? I think it is the Tang Dynasty, or am I tripping? Ooh, look at that. AW. So it is the Tang Dynasty. The CE 600. Damn, that was a grip ago. Yeah, Wu Zetian's rise within the imperial harem. Yep. W. Big W. I always played her in Civilization in Civ 5. I always played her because she had the Chokunu, I think it was. The archers that could like fire twice. So broken. Especially when you kept them and then leveled them up, because then they became like, I think they became like tanks that could fire twice or something like that. It's crazy. Or like artillery or something, which was insane.
Or your rank in the military, basically how people's identities have been defined for most of human history. You were a cog in the great chain of being, and the same thing was true in medieval Europe. You existed within a feudal system put in place by the divine mover. By the late Ming period, which went all the way into the 17th century, there was this rise in individualism that started to run so deep that it turned into the same kind of identity crises and obsession with labels that we see among Gen Z today. You see, Chinese society had reached a level of complexity to such a point that people started to define themselves by their personal quirks and not their family or job. So instead of saying, I am a soldier, a late Ming youngin might say, I'm a connoisseur of rare incense who suffers from melancholy. In a similar way, you'd be hard-pressed to meet a young person today who primarily identifies by their profession or their nationality. Find me a 22-year-old who introduces themselves as Garrett the American plumber, and I would genuinely be shocked. I'm sure
Yeah,
Garrett will
that's real. You know what? All right. I was kind of not with him on that one. I was kind of not with you, but now that you said that, like as an example, yeah, I couldn't see that unless it was like a meme.
I'll show up in my comments to prove me wrong because that's how YouTube works. Instead, just like the Ming youth, young people now might identify as a neurodivergent creative with a hyperfixation on looks maxing. It's this obsession with self, and it can be dangerous because you stop
Instagram
viewing
contributed to that because you gotta have like a short, snappy bio to why should people follow you? You know what I mean? Or like TikTok or something like that. They helped with that, I want to say.
Yourself as part of a wider community and start squeezing yourself into these ever smaller and more specific boxes. The late Ming period was a kind of renaissance that ultimately failed. It was this explosion of individual expression and art and looks maxing and everything else, but it was cut short by the Manchu
that ancient
conquest
Chinese
in
looks
1644.
maxing went crazy.
I honestly think
weren't they like spreading like bugs and stuff on their face, like different colored bugs and stuff as the makeup? Or like the lip stuff.
Going to see something similar with Gen Z in the coming years. They're in this period of extreme self-expression and pursuit of individual destiny right before a massive systemic reset comes. Maybe that's AI, maybe it's something else, only time will tell. Anyway, we just briefly stepped outside of the Middle Ages, so let's bring things back a few centuries for our next comparison. I want to go back to those Song Dynasty third spaces we talked about earlier. One of them was the Watsi, or the Pleasure Precinct, which sounds pretty good already. Basically, during the Song Dynasty, the government moved away from these strictly managed residential wards and allowed for the growth of pleasure precincts, or Watsi. If you've ever seen The Wire, this was kind of like the medieval Chinese equivalent of the Amsterdam experiment. The Watsi were these chaotic 24-hour zones where all the basic social rules were temporarily suspended, kind of like the medieval equivalent of the unregulated internet. Now, if you let a bunch of young men loose in an area with no rules, the first thing they'll be interested in is prostitution, but in the modern day, you already check that box with online adult content and gooning. After those urges are satisfied, literally the very next thing they want is to gamble. It's a tale as old as time, and it was a big problem in the Song Dynasty pleasure districts, and it's an even bigger problem now.
Online gambling. What is all those stake and all those? What are those other ones? The gambling things? Stake, I don't know, Prize Picks.
Discord servers, and even huge publicly accessible apps like DraftKings and BetDSI. I see so many young people now who are almost turning online gambling into a sort of career path. And guess what? They did the same thing back in the day too. You see all kinds of criticisms from the Song Dynasty officials like Sima Guang, who laments that young men are abandoning the plow and the book to chase the flip of the die. There's also this modern sociologist named Beverly Yuen Thompson who writes great stuff about subcultures. And she's noted that Beverly Yuen Thompson, who writes great stuff about subculture, this modern sociologist named Beverly
just because I got out of but I was just watching Wano, and that kind of reminds me of like the art style for the arc and whatnot, and like the old like Japanese art style and stuff like that. I guess that's kind of why.
Thompson, who writes great stuff about subcultures, and she's noted that fringe groups usually start to form when the mainstream promise of hard work equals success is broken. In the Song Dynasty, your ticket to success was passing the imperial exam, but you could study 30 years just to fail an exam that only had a 1% pass rate.
30
That's
years?
a bad bet. Young people now are seeing the same.
30 years? Yo. That's like back then, that was like your entire lifespan. That's crazy. Studying for 30 years just to get oh my gosh. Nah, that's like the modern day equivalent of like going through like schooling for stuff for certain things.
Same thing. Their parents bought houses and supported an entire family on a modest single income, and now they can barely afford their rent. In this kind of paradigm, why wouldn't you open up DraftKings and put everything you own on some ridiculous parlay? Why wouldn't you dump your...
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that's... I can't even be mad at that. I really can't. Because it's honestly, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So you might as well go for the one that can at least pay out. I feel that.
Whole portfolio into some meme coin in the hopes it'll take you to the moon.
Now that
you
is
might
silly.
Think of this young...
If you're gonna do it, at least do it on something that's like more feasible. You know what I mean? If you're gonna go all in on something, don't go all in on a meme coin. Go in on like the S&P 500 after like a really long bar, and then just go whatever the color of that bar is and put it into that. If you're gonna gamble, just do that. You can thank me later.
Generation of gambling addicts as just irresponsible kids whose frontal lobes aren't fully developed yet. That's definitely part of it, but they're also making a desperate, calculated attempt to exit a system that has already failed them. Going back to the WotC, the pleasure precincts, the reason they never fully took over society is because you had to physically go to them. There was a spirit of anonymity, basically what happens in the WotC stays in the WotC, but you still had to go engage in these acts in a somewhat public place and deal with the internal shame of that. Now, with the internet, young people can indulge in all of their most base desires without ever even getting off the couch, and it can literally cost them their entire future. It's worth noting, too, that when you have a bunch of young, desperate people gathering in one place for a set objective, it can create a sort of ideological powder keg. So in the WotC, these guys formed gambling brotherhoods, and the song Penal Code tried constantly to break them up because they feared the brotherhoods were becoming more loyal to each other than to the emperor. Now you might get into a private Discord server, ostensibly to do some gambling and trade some insider tips, and next thing you know, you're radicalized into committing some horrific public act of terror.
That's crazy.
This feels like a good place to land
Just
the
here
plane,
for the bread,
because the main point I want to make with these videos is that time is a flat circle, and we're essentially repeating the patterns of the past over and over again.
This was a really cool video.
I'm glad those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it, but it seems like even when we do study history, we're powerless not to make the same mistakes. The difference now, of course, is that these things are happening on a massive global scale with the full weight of tech companies and government institutions behind them. A soldier in the Song Dynasty might drunkenly head to the WotC and lose his monthly wages, and that was it. A young 20-something now might obsessively bet his entire savings on an app on his phone and ruin his whole life before it's even started. This is why we need to pay attention to these trends and recognize that even though human behavior hasn't changed, how we respond to it can. But what do you think? Has this video found you at a very medieval Chinese time in your life? Let me know in the comments. As always, I'm John, this has been Medieval Mindset, and remember, the past isn't gone, it's simply waiting to be rediscovered.
Agreed. W video, man, that was a really good, you know what, we might have to subscribe. I'm not gonna lie. It's a W video. You know what, I'm a sucker for these history videos, man. Wait, did I say W video? Yeah, we're dropping a sub, bro. I'm a sucker for these, man. Love these videos. If I did not leave a comment, though, I will be doing it now. And then we're gonna cut it for today, because we're coming up on the 2-hour mark here. Coming up on the 2-hour mark. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. What do y'all think about this? The Gen Z being compared to medieval China. But what other like arc in history would you compare it to if you had to pick? If it wasn't that one, let me know in the comments. But that's gonna be it for this one. Hope y'all enjoyed it. It's been a fun time. I had a good time. It's been cool. And yeah. Catch you in the next one. I'm gonna be chopping these up, probably uploading them. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. Bye.